You are listening to Fantha Tracks.
Because of the following special program, Wonder Woman and the Incredible Hulk will not be presented this evening.
Hello Anaheim, this is Making Tracks live at Celebration Anaheim. I'm joined by a load of co-hosts from all the various Fantha shows. We're going to get straight into it. I'm going to start at my right. Carl, can you reach the mic?
I can, fortunately for the audience.
Introduce yourself and Greg, and tell us who you are, what you're doing.
Hi, I'm Carl. I'm one of the hosts of Desert Planet Discs on the Fantha Tracks Network, and we play lots and lots and lots of Star Wars music and then talk about all sorts of nonsense as well.
And Greg, what do you do?
I'm Greig. I join Carl on the podcast and talk a lot of nonsense and sweep up afterwards. Try and cut Carl off when he's talking too much. And you may also know me as Darth Elvis, so I do some singing in my spare time and do Star Wars parodies.
Excellent. And later in the episode, we'll be coming back to you guys for a mini episode of Desert Planet Discs. I look to my left, to the far left, Mr. Booker.
Evening.
And which Fantha Tracks Radio show do you co-host?
I co-host Canon Fodder with yourself and Brian Cameron.
The dearly missed Brian Cameron.
Name?
My name? Oh, we'll get to me in a minute.
Okay.
It's this dude I'm more concerned about. Can you explain yourself, please?
There's nobody more concerned about me than me. So I'm Paul Naylor in real life.
Yes, but who are you in fake life?
In fake life, I'm Nay Paulor, and there's a big campaign to get Nay Paulor as the character name for this character that I'm portraying that appeared in the Book of Boba Fett.
Yeah,
so,
and you're the person spearheading this campaign, I assume.
Yeah, when I say a big campaign, if you receive an email from
the one and only,
and it goes into your trash folder, have a good look for it.
And as this is radio, what character would that be? Explain the character, because you can't see on radio.
Well, all my life I wanted to be something of importance, a lightsaber-wielding Jedi, or maybe a blaster-toting Corellian.
As we all.
I'm an admin clerk for Mokshay.
Oh, in Boba Fett?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So you've got the full costume.
Oh, well, I've got the summer version on today. I've got my shorts on.
It's the newsreader version.
The newsreader version.
There's nothing from the hips down.
I've got the...
Darth Maul.
It's a lovely pair of heels, though. Red
legs.
It's the Zoom version I'm sporting today.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's very 2022.
But I'm the co-host of Start Your Engines.
Free badges for everyone.
Which I do with Mr. Newbold here. And we're only 2 complete episodes in, but we'll be doing a special short version today as well.
We will, a mini episode. So we're going to kick off, and I'm Mark from Making Tracks, if anybody's bothered. And, how's the Champions League final going? Come on, I need to know the important stuff. Oh, okay. I think I know where it's gone. We have 2 guests. I'm going to bring up our first guest, Adam Christopher. Yes, if you're available. There you go.
Got the Canon Fodder music going.
If you can squeeze in, it's rather snug.
This is nice.
Yes, this is. It's one of the curses of being a Fantha.
Hello.
So, obviously, you can't say too much about your forthcoming tome because you've got a publishing panel this evening at 6:30.
Yes.
But what can you say?
Well, so Shadow of the Sith is the story of Luke and Lando chasing Ochi of Bestoon as Ochi chases Rey's parents and Rey, set in the kind of wilderness between Return of the Jedi and The Force Awakens, which is a really interesting period because it's not something that has really been explored much in books. There's like a book and there's a few comics, but yeah, it's like the kind of wild wilderness.
When you were given the opportunity to do this book and tell this story, and we don't know, well you do, but we don't know exactly where it's set in that time frame, where were you drawing the most inspiration from? Does it feel like you're pulling from the OT leading forward or drawing up towards the sequel trilogy? Where do you kind of pitch it?
Well, this is the really interesting thing because it's really the first opportunity to directly link the original trilogy with the sequel trilogy, because Luke and Lando are the main characters essentially, but then we've got Rey's parents and Rey, who are obviously sequel era, even though we only see the Rey's parents in The Rise of Skywalker for like 5 seconds.
Yeah.
But yeah, so this is, for me, it was really cool because like I love I'm of the right age to be an original trilogy fan. I love the sequel trilogy. So to kind of put it together, what a fantastic opportunity.
And a bit of clarity, because I know people are going to ask, how do you pronounce the names?
So this was revealed the other day. So Dathan is Rey's father, and Miramir is Rey's mother.
Got it. So Dathan like Nathan, like Fantha's like Bantha.
Exactly right. Yeah. So Dathan being the failed genetic strand cast of Palpatine, and of course Palpatine was terribly disappointed that his clone son has no force powers, so kind of rejected him. And Miramir is from a planet that will be revealed and has a family that will be revealed.
Excellent.
Yeah, it's cool to be able to create that kind of thing. It's like, I'm a Star Wars fan, first and foremost, and to actually do something which makes a difference. It's like, this is, sometimes with books and comics, because you got the TV and the film, which obviously is the most important thing, obviously, you have to sometimes like explore characters or moments or very specific things. So to have the chance to do a book that really, like, I kind of call it like a tentpole book, like it has stuff in it which is important to the saga of Star Wars, and I got to name Rey's parents, amongst other things. So I'm like, this is happening? It's happening, yeah.
When you talk about Star Wars, one of the phrases that gets used a lot is sandbox, and it feels like you've been given quite a substantial sandbox. There's a responsibility that goes with that, along with being a fan, of course. How did that weigh on you, if at all?
Well, it was really good because when the brief really was the conversation that Lando has in Rise of Skywalker with Rey, and he's like, "Oh, me and Luke chased Ochi and Pisana and was a wayfinder, we never found it." Like, and then they gave me that. It's like, "Well, go and write the book of that." So
and that was it. That's all.
That was it. Yeah.
Blimey.
Well, which is good because this is the thing of like they need people to write the books they can trust to just kind of go away and do it and produce what is required because it is a job.
Yep.
And like the other day there was a panel, the Lucasfilm publishing panel, and Jen Heddle, who is the Disney editor, was like saying she was really amazed by the book because they gave me that brief and then I came back with a 150,000 word manuscript. Because how do you turn that into a story?
Yeah.
Like what happened? So the idea of it being an open sandbox where I could do what I wanted was really good because I knew for Star Wars books that's sometimes a rare thing. And I thought as a Star Wars fan, I want to write something that I would want to read. Yeah. And because it's between, the original trilogy and the sequel trilogy, this to me was like episode 6.5. I thought, okay, I'm going to write episode 6.5 as a book. So what is going to happen? If you were watching a saga movie, main saga movie, what would happen in it? What would you want? Yeah. What would be exciting and like surprising? The best things about Star Wars movies and TV when it's good is like it surprises you at every turn. Like, this whole thing on Disney Plus, it's like you watch an episode a week of Mandalorian or Book of Boba Fett or now it's Obi-Wan Kenobi, and like every week is a surprise.
Yeah.
And like, which is amazing. And that is like really good storytelling. So I thought, okay, what would surprise me? It's just like I'm the writer of the book. What would surprise me? But yeah, so it was really good. And I'm aware of it being a rare opportunity, and I'm grateful that I could do it. And I had a lot of fun.
And did you try to write beats into like the films and the TV shows in some parts? Yeah,
I did. Yeah, because like if you think of one of the movies, like certain things happen in the kind of the acts, and what do you want? You want speeder chases, you want spaceships, you want quiet character moments.
Yeah.
This being a Luke and Lando book, well, Luke is the kind of kick-ass lightsaber wielding Jedi. Yeah. Like I said somewhere else, like at this point of time, he's like the most powerful person in the galaxy, basically.
Yep.
And he knows it, and he's aware of that power. Like we saw at the end of Mandalorian season 2 when he comes to collect Grogu. That's like warrior Jedi. And then we saw in the Book of Boba Fett where he's training Grogu. That's like the wise, peaceful Jedi. So he's a really interesting character. So yeah, I was just like, I obviously because I've been writing for like 10, 15 years professionally, I kind of have an instinct for beats and acts and story acts and things. So I did write it organically.
Yeah.
But, it's a long book as well. It's like 150,000 words. So it has to have a kind of pace and a kind of the beats.
You get their money's worth.
Yeah, you get to get your money's worth. Imagine the audiobook is going to be, I don't know how many hours.
Really?
Oh my goodness.
Have you heard any of that yet?
No, I haven't. I know who the narrator is. I can't say yet.
Okay.
But, like, I don't know, audiobook narrators, what a job. It's like sitting in a closet for 40 hours recording a book.
A padded one, no less.
Yeah.
So no characters ever exactly where you leave them, but obviously you're picking up Lando and Luke, specifically Lando and Luke, quite a bit on from where we last saw them. How do you assimilate all the information to make them the characters you want them to be to tell the story?
Well, Luke and Lando are two of the most recognisable characters from the whole saga. I mean, Luke is the main character. I didn't worry about expectations or what people might think might happen, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So things have happened. Luke has his temple. He's got this great power which he's aware of, and like he's not afraid of that power, but he knows what could happen. Because he's got first-hand experience of what happens when that power can be turned. Yeah. So he's always aware of that, and everything that he does in the book, like the decisions that he makes, he's always weighing it against what he could do and what he should do, which are kind of like two separate things. And then Lando, I mean, we know him as the kind of the gambler and the playboy and the kind of raconteur and that kind of thing. But, he's in a very different place because he lost, his daughter is kidnapped by the First Order about 6 years before the book. So you can imagine for a person like that, what would happen to you if that happened? Like, it's a huge tragedy which completely changes his life. And of course, he hasn't found her. Well, we know from The Rise of Skywalker that he never finds her, as far as we know. So then to put these two characters who aren't, like, if you imagine the end of Return of the Jedi, they've then gone off on different paths completely. And then they kind of, then have come back to meet at this point in time. So, yeah, they're like an odd couple, but like really strong characters.
Yeah.
I mean, it's Luke and Lando. Come on.
Yeah. And so you get the chance now to create new characters without giving anything away about the book. You're able to inhabit your story with characters of your own. How much joy does that give you?
Yeah, this is the thing. Like, writing tie-ins is quite difficult because when you write your own book, it's all your own stuff, your own creations, characters, whatever. Like, writing a tie-in, like Star Wars, you have characters that already exist, like Luke and Lando and whoever else is in the book, and then you have to create your own characters. And the thing is, like, millions of people love Luke and Lando and know exactly what they're like and who they are. So when your own characters come onto the page, you've got to give them the same kind of depth and weight, because these are new for people, but like they've never been seen or heard or whatever. Yeah. So yeah, I had a lot of fun creating some new important characters as well. Like, it's Luke and Lando's story. They meet people, they cooperate with people, they fight people. There's one character in particular who comes in that kind of forms a partnership, and they kind of help. And also, like Rey's parents, you see them for 5 seconds, and I think in Rise of Skywalker, and I don't know what the expectations are for them, because obviously, like, Miramir is played by Jodie Comer on screen, one of my favourite actors. I remember when I first saw The Rise of Skywalker, I didn't know she was in it, and I was like, oh my goodness, when you see this flash of her. So I knew that they are original characters, really. 5 seconds on screen doesn't count, I don't think, for much. Yeah. And of course, they carry the story as much as Luke and Lando does, so... they're a kind of weird one, because like they're original characters that I've created, except they already exist in Star Wars.
That makes sense. Yeah.
It's like the bounty hunters in Empire Strikes Back. You see Zukas and Forlom for like 2 seconds, and then someone creates comics and books and things.
Were you given much guidance by Lucasfilm on her parents then?
No, not at all.
Not
no.
At all? Oh, wow.
No. No,
is that preferable? Or?
Well, yeah, no, it's good, because I knew that then they trusted me to do it. Yeah. The thing with them, like, they kind of... You do a big outline for, like, a tie-in book, which is good because everything's approved beforehand, so when you write the book, you can just go for it. So with the outline, I kind of put in everything I thought they're just going to tell me to take it out, because,
Oh, really?
You just throw stuff in. It's like, well, I could do this and this.
But you went for broke and then...
I went for broke and they were like, yeah, sure, okay.
And you were expecting a couple of things
Yeah.
to...
Yeah, I was like, there's no way they're going to let me do that. And they're like, yep, cool. Or the guidance you sometimes get is like, are you sure it's like this and this? And if you can always back it up, it's like, yeah, because this comic had this or this book had this.
Right.
And they're like, okay, cool.
So you read all the comics and a lot of the other books as well?
Yeah. Well, because I'm a fan as well.
Yeah.
So like I read the books and I read the comics. I read, Canon and Legends and the EU and comics going back to, the LA Times newspaper strips of 1978.
Got the hardback.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
So have you been able to pull from as many avenues as possible?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm not saying any more about that, yeah.
But so much from the previous era has been brought in by people into things, so being like Cavan's Court brought in Jackson.
Well, it's like you may as well. If you enjoy a story or a character or anything, planet, ship, setting, so long as it's not completely contradictory.
Yeah, not shooting.
Or even if it is contradictory, if you can find a way of making it work, then why not? And like the Jackson, like we're at Star Wars Celebration, there's Jackson cosplay outside.
It's great.
Yeah, which is like you'd never imagine that would ever happened.
Well, they finally made an action figure and stuff, so...
Exactly, yeah.
10 years ago, you'd never dream of it.
Oh, no.
So would you like some of your characters to come across into the comics?
Yeah, I mean, and maybe they will. It's just one of those weird things. I say original characters, like, this is Star Wars. I don't own Star Wars.
No, but
so
you created some of them.
Yeah, and it's funny, I did a comic called The Shield for Archie Comics a few years ago. And myself and Chuck Wendig, who's another Star Wars writer, we sort of created this new version of The Shield.
Yeah.
Which is great. And then it's like, and then she appeared in other comics. And we're like, okay, yeah, that's cool. She, like, these characters that you create, especially when they're part of a larger universe like Star Wars or The Shield, Archie Comics, they have that, they develop their own life.
Okay.
And like it's out of your control, which is actually really cool because it means something about them worked that people want to see.
Like Kieran when he handed off the Dr. Aphra comics and wrote Vader and the other books and stuff.
Right. And then you've got like Black Chrysanthemum and
in the Book of Fett.
Yeah.
Mind blowing.
Incredible.
Yeah.
And so, obviously, given where we are in the day, you can't say too much, but what else can you or would you like to say, other than everybody buy the book?
Yeah. No, everybody should pre-order
Everybody should pre-order the book. It's just an adventure. Like, Star Wars is fun. You can say things that are important and have meaningful themes and ideas, but also it's like, it's space wizards and laser swords, which is amazing. What's, like... How can you not love that concept? Even just like space wizards and laser swords, I'd watch that. Yeah. Come on, I'd read that.
You've got a bunch of guys here in their mid to late 30s, 40s,
20s.
Still enjoying stuff that we were enjoying when we were 7, so totally right.
Yeah, and I was outside in the cosplayers having the big clone troopers meet and stuff, and it's like packed, absolutely packed, and I thought, George Lucas is responsible for this. Like, what an amazing thing for like one person to come up with this movement and mythology. Like, there's nothing like it that's ever happened, I'm sure, in Western kind of popular culture. No. Like, and I think I'm a writer and I write my own stuff, and like, can I possibly imagine that something of my own could spawn this? It's like, no way, because it's all.
Next celebration, somebody will have cosplayed one of your
Well,
characters.
that would be amazing. Yeah. I mean, we'll see what happens. Yeah, it's funny because we're recording this now. The book is out a month today.
Yeah.
And I'm very nervous, but
You'll be fine.
Well, we're going to be speaking to you on Canon Fodder just ahead of then. The interview will come out on day of book release.
Yep.
So everybody listen to it. But for now, thank you, Adam. Very much appreciated.
Oh, thank you very much for having me.
Hello, I'm Dennis Lawson, and you're listening to Fantha Tracks.
Right, we're going to push on with the show. We have our next wonderful guest up on stage. It's Mark van Ohlen from Denuo Novo. We haven't spoken for a while. You've got loads of stuff coming out and loads of things being announced. let's dig into it. What can you tell us about what's been revealed so far at Celebration?
Yeah, well, first of all, excuse me, thank you guys for having me. I'm so happy to be here. We are having a great time at Celebration. I've lost my voice because I've been speaking to so many consumers at our booth. It's been really fun. We're calling this our coming out party because it is our first celebration as a brand. For anyone who doesn't know about Denuo Novo, we picked up the license that was left behind by a Novo's. So we have the high-end costumes, collectibles, helmets, and all that stuff is on display in booth 2347. We're also running a sale for anyone who might be listening who isn't here at Celebration, 10% off and free shipping.
That's a good deal.
And it's an all-new company.
A brand new company. We're owned by Rubies, the costume company. You guys might be familiar with them. We're also part of what I call the NECA-verse. Our owner, Joel, also owns NECA, which also includes JEI, the Clapper, and Chia Pet, which are in the booth right next door to us. And they also have Kid Robot. So we're part of a big conglomeration of really interesting collectibles companies.
And just for you personally, before we dive into it, you've come from a rather different arena. There's some similar looking things on the table here from Tops. What was the shift like for you? Is it a easily transferable thing, or was it a big new learning experience?
Oh boy, well, I've been a licensee since 2014 on Star Wars, and once they pull you in the tractor beam, you can't escape. I went from working on a high-end collectibles category to working on a high-end collectibles category. So for me, it was very transferable. I loved my time on trading cards, and especially on Star Wars Authentics, working with the talent. That was really exciting. And now I get to work on these awesome, like, screen-accurate products. Like, the helmets that we do are just killer. And I'm a sort of light cosplayer myself, but these items are in a whole other territory of screen-accurate, just incredible look and feel.
So tell us a little bit about what's coming up, or not so much what's coming up, but what's here with us now. I know you can't reveal too much, but
no, I can tell you a lot. That's why I'm here. If we didn't have news to share, just to sort of go back in time, we went live in August of 2021. And we've been steadily fulfilling back orders that were left behind by Novo's. So at this point now, we have about 40 items available on sale on the website. That includes about 25 in-stock 25 in-stock products, and about 15 on pre-order. Some of our newest releases include the Imperial Officer uniforms, which just went up a little while ago, our new Jango Fett helmet, which is brand new, and our reveal that we had at the show is the 501st Trooper helmet, which we're very excited about. Novo's had started on a Clone Trooper Phase 2 before they lost the license, and they were doing a 2-piece execution. We were able to create a 1-piece Clone Trooper and then do a paint variation for the 501st with that beautiful blue on the front. So it's both wearable and a nice displayable piece because it's made of fiberglass. So if you want to come check it out in person, come see it at the booth. It's down there.
Absolutely. And so when you get this, again, speaking for you personally, when you see a piece as a fan, excuse me, you get excited, you get lit up by it. When you're telling people like us, or selling it on the booth, or pushing it on the site, how enjoyable is that? That's the gut question.
Yeah, I'm a lifelong geek. I've been, as I said, a licensee since 2014, but I've been following Star Wars since I'm a little kid. I'm in that weird in-between where I wasn't there in 77 because my parents hadn't even met yet, but I am raised by the Ewoks. So I think my first movie was probably Return of the Jedi, and then I watched the live-action movies for the Ewoks and the cartoon and droids, and so I'm from that weird little in-between generation. But I feel like Star Wars has been a part of my life since I'm a little kid, and a lifelong comic reader. And by the way, I got to get that book now, The Shadow of the Sith. That was a good little pitch. It sounds very exciting. So for me, I try to keep up with everything in the fandom, and I want to work on something I'm passionate about. So when the opportunity came to go to Rubies and then relaunch this entire category in the high-end space, I couldn't pass up on that opportunity.
And the amount of research that goes in, because you, by design, need and want this to be as screen accurate as possible. How deep into the weeds do you guys go?
Oh boy. So the way Novo's used to do things was they'd get to physically see the prop itself. Like if it was used on screen, get measurements, high-res photography. In the case of helmets, like a 3D file is really good for engineering. Because of COVID, we haven't really seen any physical items in person yet. Like I haven't been out to like the archives or anything. But apparently I would hope so. I mean, I think at the moment, though, we're figuring out ways across all industries to work without that kind of access. And so for us, just excellent photography. And then, as you guys know, being designers and painters and everything, having the right color map. So if we have Pantones or CMYKs or something that we can replicate. But really the big thing is seeing what was seen on screen and comparing it to the original item. From there, we'll go into molding or to pattern making. And then, of course, the most important thing is Lucasfilm approves it themselves.
Right.
So this is officially licensed product. We're not an Etsy shop or individual makers where you can sort of take liberties or execute it how you like. It has to go through all the proper channels. And from there, they've given the blessing to put it into market.
And you've worked with licensees, obviously, before, within this sort of realm. How exacting is that approval stamp?
It's incredibly, I don't want to use the word tedious because that sends the wrong message, but time consuming. It's a journey. And I will say Disney's been incredible to work with, especially on some of our more challenging products like the Clone Trooper, where we really went to them and were like, we don't like this two-piece execution that Novo's had started with. It's not wearable. And they gave us permission to remove that like bottom ring on the bottom of the helmet because it's not really seen on screen. Like, yes, it would be true in the original piece, but we want it to fit over your head and you can then use it for trooping and stuff. So we're able to make those sort of slight concessions. Another interesting example is our Sabine Wren helmet. That's an animated character. By the way, here we have a live action Sabine. Based on the panel. I was like ready to cry at my booth. I'm a Rebels fanatic. So that's very exciting to hear. I mean, we all suspected, but now we have confirmation. But that helmet that you see, we're doing the season 2, and it's got that bright orange and that sort of red, purpley kind of wine color. We had to translate that animated color into real life. And then from there, it's same thing with the shape. It's not really accurate to any human's body. So we were able to take a little bit of liberties on bringing that to life. But we do have a movable viewfinder, so it goes straight down, which is very cool. So
now you know she's in season 3 of Mando, hopefully. I think it's Mando season 3 she's in?
I thought it was the Ahsoka, but either way, who knows? We'll see her in the Age of the New Republic. Is that 6 to 7 space?
Are you now going to hassle your person at Lucasfilm Licensing for all the assets to get on with that and do it soon?
I would like to, but our biggest thing at the moment is I wouldn't feel good putting out a lot of new product until we clear out the back order from Novo's. Like, we have to take care of those original customers. So right now, the only new item we have is the Kylo Ren Rise of Skywalker, the Jango Fett, which was actually started by Novo's but never finished. They never collected money on it, but still, that's sort of an Novo's legacy item. We are going to look at the new streams of content to figure out what we want to go into next, but we are laser focused on the things that they didn't finish, and there's still a good 20 items that people are owed, including basic stuff like Stormtrooper helmets from Classic Trilogy, Stormtrooper helmets from Force Awakens, and the Executioner helmet, both in fiberglass and plastic. We've got some costuming pieces that we're working on, but I would love to do live action Sabine, and I really want to get to like more Mandalorian pieces. We've got the helmet. Can I get your shoulder piece? And then the rest of the armor. That would really be where I would go next.
All the different shoulder pieces.
Yeah, well, that's the thing is like he's got a lot of components to his outfit. I think the biggest one is the insignia with the mudhorn, right? Like that would be, I'd go there first. Yeah.
With all the new content, you've just mentioned Sabine and Ahsoka, and we've seen 2 episodes of Kenobi so far. The anticipation for what you've got coming, for you as a fan as much as anything else, without saying anything, because I know you can't, have you seen anything yet on screen over this weekend where you're like, we are totally on that?
There's been a few already, and I think we want to fill in the gaps of like, I mean, I think in all licensed product, there's probably a character that is underrepresented. I would say like Reva is probably a good example of that, right? Like we did see a Hasbro Black Series figure, but will she, because she's third build in the show, you have to sort of do Obi-Wan and then Vader, and then you get to her, and then you get to Grand Inquisitor, right? There's sort of a ranking within a show, and that show is one of 10 shows on the air now. Like, where would she land in like a SKU ranking or something? But we don't have a lot of women's wear, and we certainly don't have a lot of characters of color. So I would jump in on something like that. I don't know if and when though, again, because of like the back order in particular. I also think that in general, pieces of costumes are really important versus like a full ensemble. So can we get people the helmet first and then start building armor the way we would on like Mando?
Yeah, because that makes sense. Oh, sorry, Matt.
Doing patches and stuff and bits like that can perfectly authentic replicas of the patches and badges and stuff and the bits from the costumes.
Right.
So fans go and make their own foam core ones and stuff like that, and then add the authentic pieces onto it.
Yeah, you can start swapping out as we start making them available, and then hopefully find your way into the 501st.
Yeah.
We saw a lot of those guys come into our booth today, and they were saying they use our products to make their costumes, which that was cool to see.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Your pieces are, I'm guessing you all start with a helmet, because that to a collector, that's a display piece, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
To a costumer, that's ground zero, and you work your way from there.
Exactly, and that's actually been a big topic of discussion at the booth, plastic versus fiberglass. Fiberglass is your display piece. Plastic is better for trooping. All of our X-Wings and our TIE Fighters are plastic. Those are made in China, and they use decals, whereas we have our fiberglassing facilities here in America, and those are really our display pieces.
Yeah.
They are wearable. We do want everything to be costumable. But yeah, I don't know how many people are running around with like the Imperial Royal Guard red helmet in fiberglass. That would be, I would die. I tried it on once and I was like, you can't wear this for more than a minute.
See, I tried the Don Post one back in the 90s and it wouldn't fit my head.
It's a very narrow helmet, more so than all the others.
Front to back of your head, you've got to have a very small nose.
And I have this, very Italian nose over here. So even the Mando helmet itself like squishes up against me.
Yeah.
You could see it through the purple visor.
Distinct.
Exactly.
Distinguished.
Yes. I have a noticeable profile. But that's the kind of thing where we do have all the measurements up on the site. So if you were looking to buy something, especially on like the costume pieces, shoulders, arm length, chest, all of that is up there. And then the helmets for the most part fit a size 8 hat. And that's American sizing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So what else can you tell us about what's coming, what's happening, and where we are with Denuo and Novo?
Yeah, so we're about a third of the way through the Novo's back order from a quantity perspective, and probably about 50% of the way on the actual number of products that are available on the site. So that's all in the works. We have a lot of things arriving in June, including the long-awaited first order kit. That's really the biggest one, the number one item on the back order that people are waiting for. And then the associated helmets for those are coming in Q4. So that'd be the various stormtroopers. We also have something at the booth, and I brought you guys some extras. I didn't realize there were so many of you on the panel right here. I would have brought more. This is our little, it's a giveaway for you guys. It's our first order insignia duty cap patch. So it's a little 1.5 by 1.75 inch little adhesive patch, and you can put it on clothing. So these are for you guys to keep. I'll bring more for the rest of the crew, and you can give as many away as you want as well. So we have those at the booth. And then also coming in June, our Admiral tunic and Krennic cape are both going to be in stock, as well as all of our TIE Fighter helmets.
We know somebody on the team that, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, excellent.
You've met Brian many a time.
Yes.
He's back home in Scotland, and he
Excellent.
He already has the Celebration Krennic T-shirt with Kate cosplay.
Yeah.
Oh, terrific.
But yeah, he fully embraces the.
We just assumed you'd made it with him in mind, so.
So this is a really interesting one because it's been in the works for so long. It's finally here, and like we're it's like literally on the water. We're tracking shipping containers, but if we do have a sample at the booth that you can check out. The big question was always, what's the color of that outfit? It is not white. It's like a weird eggshell off-white kind of thing, but it's a nice heavy cape with a lot of seams, and it's very over designed, which is true to the character of Krennic.
Yes.
Like it's very ostentatious. So
does it flow nicely?
It does. I wore it around the office, and I was bothering a lot of people. I mean,
I can't imagine you doing that.
I mean, we're a costuming company, so there's always some nonsense happening out in Westbury. People are in inflatable costumes running around. We have a photo studio on site, so there's always models coming in and out. And I will tell you, sometimes even before model shoots, like. We actually make on site the first samples, not our manufacturing, but like we have a design team there, and they're cutting and sewing and all that stuff, and we'll run around. I also work on the Viacom portfolio for Halloween costumes, and so we have the shirt from Blue's Clues, and so it's just like running around bothering people in the blue stripy shirt of the new host, and they're like, everyone leave my desk, go away. But the cape has great dramatic flair. It flows and it sort of hits around your calf, so it's like you won't trip over it, but it's a nice length.
Around my hips somewhere, I guess.
So I'd put you in a double X based on your shoulders and your height.
Oh, you are a wizard. That is exactly. Shouldn't be
come,
giving this away. So.
No, I will tell you this. Come to the booth. We didn't bring our measuring tape, but we've been sizing people all day. You have to, it's the Tim Gunn method. You dress the largest part of your body, and for you, it's your height. So from there, it's like
not my height.
So, so from there, like we would, and we have all this on the site too, of like what we would fit you with. But the cape is nice and long.
You've learned a lot of new skills in the last couple of years. Then.
Yeah, it's been crazy because I'm no seamstress, right? But we do have all that skill on site, and you absorb that information. And when we're making these items, and you might have remembered too, the Novo's items were like a little bit fitted, a little bit tight-fitting, right?
Yeah.
Because they're usually built to actor specifications, and every actor you've ever met is secretly skinnier than you realize. It's kind of crazy. I saw, I think it was Oscar Isaac in person last convention, and I was like, you are skinny. And it's because on screen everyone looks like an action star, like superhero, but everyone is smaller than you realize, and they're built to those specs. So we're now sort of grading up those sizes, and sometimes the XX is probably closer to like a true XL. So we try to put up there what measurements we think you'll fit in best.
And before we let you go, how have you enjoyed this celebration? It's all being back together again and doing stuff like this.
Oh my goodness, how wonderful, right? It's been a really tough couple of years for everyone. I mean, you know my story, like I was on furlough and then I found this new job and a lot has changed, but it's like old home week, right? I'm seeing everyone from around the world. You guys came in from England. I'm from New York City. There are people in from other parts of the country and all over the world, and it's been really nice just to see everyone. I was out Tuesday night just at a bar having drinks and catching up with people when I still had a voice. And it was just nice to hear everyone's stories and see what they've been up to. A lot of people have changed jobs. A lot of people have moved. A lot of people are just happy to be in the panels. People were crying already on like day one. So I was like, what are they going to do to us, man? And then the Rebels thing just happened and someone came and gave me a hug. They're like, we're live action, Sabine. And I was like, I know, I'm waiting. I'm like all in on the new content.
Well, that's fantastic. Thanks for these, but thanks as always for coming and joining us.
Yeah, it was great seeing you.
And we'll see you again soon.
Yes, thank you guys so much for having me. I appreciate it.
For everything in one location, daily news, reviews, interviews, podcasts, video, and social media feeds, bookmark FanthaTracks.com for Star Wars news 24/7, 365.
I'm now going to vacate the stage because I'm going to pass the whole show over to these two gentlemen to my right.
Hello, Celebration. Celebration, yeah, it's the celebration of Cilla Black.
All right,
Well, we are a music show, so we have to get our mentions in. For those of you that don't listen to the regular show, why not? We present Star Wars music and Star Wars fan music and music by Star Wars fans from across the world. And we thought for today we'd have a little bit of a chat about Celebration and musical side. So with me, as always, my co-host Greig, aka Darth Elvis, who has been musically active this celebration. Have you not, sir?
I have indeed, yes. I was performing at the Multi-Club Bash on Thursday night with the Force capacitors, aka the Flux capacitors.
Yes.
Which is why my voice is a bit hoarse today.
Yeah, we're getting to that stage of the con where everybody's a little bit hoarse.
And I've only had 2 hours sleep, I think, pretty much the whole week. So.
Yeah. So what was the Multi-Club Bash like?
Oh, fantastic! I mean, if anyone's been to the bashes before, just incredible. Just the party atmosphere, and I think particularly because it's been so long since everyone's been together, it was just unreal. The bands were great. The DJs were fantastic. You had Atomic Blonde and DJ Elliott were there, but just getting to see friends you haven't seen from all over the world, which is why Celebration's so good. It was incredible, great night, and as you can hear.
Yes. I was fortunate enough to be in the auditorium, and it was a really good night, really good performance from both the band and yourself, and there's a lot of social media action come out of the back of that, I think, especially being joined on stage again by an Akbar cosplayer.
Yeah, thankfully this time he didn't slap the guitarist in the face like he did in London. So
yes.
That it was amazing. That was my third bash. I guess in a row. I did London 2016, Chicago in 2019, and then this one. So I got my hat trick in, which was great.
Yes, and we will be doing a Darth Elvis special show later in the year because this is the 15th anniversary of Darth Elvis, because you first performed in Celebration 2007.
Yeah, in Europe 2007. So I'm most excited, I think, about being able to interview myself.
That's yeah. So tune in for that one when it airs, guys, because Greig will be asking and answering the questions in character.
In character.
or answering them in character.
Answer them in character, not asking
yes.
in character.
So lots to come on that side, and we thought we'd round out with a little bit of music, and this was part of the set from the Multi-Club Bash. He says trying to talk and find the track. So this I'll hand over to Greig to introduce himself.
So yeah, this was on the album for Darth Elvis and the Imperials, my previous backing band. This one's called a song called Sweet Caroline originally, but obviously I'd write a song about the boss, Mr. Sheev Palpatine.
Here it is.
Where he began, I can't begin to know it, but then I know he's growing strong. He was a Sith, the Sith became the Emperor. Who'd have believed he'd come along? Dark Lord to your right. Now you don't seem so lonely. Follow the rule of only two. And when I heard,
Darth Elvis there with Sheev Palpatine, and a bit of dad dancing there from Mark as well.
Dad dancing?
Oh, Mark. Small smattering of applause, much deserved.
I should just point out that Desert Planet Discs was brought to you by Mountain Dew, which every time I come to the States I forget that I absolutely love Mountain Dew.
You're going to turn into a large gelatinous green blob of Mountain Dew, I'm convinced.
Yes.
And you'll be better for it.
Hi, this is Julie Dolan, the voice of Princess Leia, and you're listening to Fantha Tracks. It's your only hope.
So we are going to do a mini episode of Start Your Engines, me and Mr. Napola. We're going to talk about... We've done 2 episodes so far. We talked about the Falcon. We spoke about TIE fighters on the last episode. Come here, Pet.
I'm coming in, mate.
I thought it seems fitting, given that our logo, and everybody can pick up multiple badges if they want them, our logo for Start Your Engines is the Fantha in a land speeder, which you can't quite see because the Celebration sign's in the way. So I thought we'd talk about the X34 land speeder. And because this is a podcast, nobody can see me reading my notes.
I'm glad you've got them here, put it that way.
We'll kick off. We talked about this before when we did the previous episode, and then we edited it out because it was nothing to do with TIE fighters.
Yeah.
When you were a kid, what was your first memory, first recollection of that land speeder?
Well, for me, I mean, obviously I can remember it from the films. I think probably because it was the most sort of real-world vehicle. It felt like your dad's car. Particularly back in the 70s when cars were either bottle green or brown.
That's a good point.
It was like the Austin Maxi from outer space. So it was all beat up, but the fact that it hovered was just so cool.
Yeah.
And the effect, obviously, looking back at the original now, it was like, I think I'm right in saying it was a smudge of Vaseline on the
I think
lens.
like you say, it ran on wheels essentially,
Yeah.
but they smudged a bit of Vaseline on the...
combining it with mirrors and all sorts of different tricks that they tried at the time.
The mirrors was the clever one.
Yeah. So, it felt like it was the vehicle that grounded us. It brought us back to that possibility of something that could come to Earth in the future.
That's a really great way of putting it. I'd never quite thought of it in those terms, because you open up with the blockade runner and the Star Destroyer that's like a city, and TIE fighters and the Falcon. excuse me, and then you see, like you say, a land speeder, which feels kind of like a feasible vehicle, doesn't it?
It's a planetary vehicle, so it's not going to go off into space. It's something that everybody should have in their home.
Everybody should have it. It was made and designed by the Sorosub Corporation, based on Sullust, way out in the it's outer rim, I think, Sullust, or maybe the mid rim. Half the planet's population worked for that company. That's a hefty investment in making. Well, the land speeder was sort of always a side project for them. They made lots of other vehicles, but that's a lot of people to be working on one company.
So you know so much about this stuff.
Only because I'm reading it off a script, which thankfully you will not see on a podcast. It's the X34 land speeder. 2,500 credits if you bought it second hand, 4,500 if it was brand new. Luke sold his for 2,000 credits because his was a beaten up, battered old piece of doo-doo.
They just don't hold their price. This Part X rate, it's just not very good at all.
Well, I blame the XP38.
Well, ever since that came out.
Yeah, exactly.
They're worth nothing.
3.5 metres long, 250 kilometres an hour, 155 miles per hour, as we would say.
It's pretty fast.
So that's a decent thump, isn't it?
I think my Seat does that downhill. Yeah, that's pretty good.
With you in it.
Off cliffs.
with 4 of me in it.
Thank you, gravity. But its maximum altitude was 1 metre. I always imagined that it had a higher flight deck than just a metre, but it's literally what you see was just pretty much as far as it's designed to go.
Yeah, I mean, I always imagined it might be able to sort of like go a little bit higher off a hill or something, but no, I mean, if that's what it does, cool stuff. I mean, as a kid, when the toys came out in '78,
when you were a kid, did you have the moustache?
No, I had a full beard then.
Okay.
When I was a kid, I just thought I'd go Magnum PI just for celebration. But that was in fact, that was the first vehicle that I had.
Yeah.
Christmas '78, '79, whenever it was. And the fact that it felt like it hovered because it had got the spring-loaded wheels.
I was going to get to that,
Yeah, so I had the Palatoy version, which didn't have a bonnet that you could open up to see the engine compartment. Yeah, I know. Later in life, I got the Canon one too.
Yeah.
But
which one's faster?
Well, I never raced them much. But, that was for me, because the first sort of 12 figures that you got, there were different vehicles that came out that you hadn't got the figures for. I mean, you got Luke's X-Wing. You didn't get an X-Wing pilot until Series 2.
No.
The TIE Fighter pilot you had to wait way longer for than that. So other than Vader in his own TIE Fighter, the land speeder you could fill up pretty quick. You could get Luke, Obi-Wan, R2 and 3PO on the back. It looked great. And the playability of it was fantastic.
Why aren't you this insightful when we do the podcast?
I don't know. Perhaps I just like a bit of an audience.
Maybe less said about that, the better. It's got 3 air-cooled thrust turbines. So obviously it looks the part. We've seen other design. I mean, on starter engines going forward, we'll go back to land speeders in more depth. But picking this one seemed very relevant. As a design, just as a shape, as something that they can spin off and do other things. We saw that cool-looking one at the start of The Mandalorian.
Yeah.
It's a design that's very malleable to change into cool things.
There's a green version of the land speeder in the Phantom Menace.
It's the same vehicle.
It's exactly the same vehicle, isn't it?
Yeah.
And obviously, if you go over to Galaxy's Edge, you can see another version of it.
Yeah, and there's one at Rancho Obi-Wan, which was the book for the Phantom Menace one, I think.
Yeah, it's the Ford Fiesta, really, isn't it, of the Galaxy?
It's literally the Harrison Ford Fiesta.
What is it then?
It's the Escort Mark II.
The Robin Reliant. Of course it is.
It is.
Of course it is.
Some of them are used for civilians. Some of them are used for sort of military, sort of police sort of concerns. Land Rover, that makes more sense. You could fit them with a blaster cannon. I can't imagine a speeder like that with a blaster cannon. I've never seen one in fiction before.
How would it ground itself when the cannon went off? You see when tanks blow off their cannons and the recoil, it'd push it back 3 weeks. Don't do it with a cliff behind you, you're done for.
Just been in the shop.
Yeah.
But
like Wile E. Coyote.
When you look at Star Wars, they're going to Mos Eisley. There's Luke and there's Ben in the speeder, but it's only a 2-seater, 1 pilot, 1 crew. Yeah. So obviously 3PO very precariously is sort of strapped on, as is R2. It's not a family car, is it?
It's not a family car. Perhaps it's the Mazda MX-5 of space then.
And on that, we're going to finish our mini episode of Start Your Engines. Just to say, Fridays on Fantha Tracks Radio, 7 o'clock UK time, you get episodes of Canon Fodder, you get episodes of Start Your Engines, episodes of Desert Planet Disc. You also get Planet Layer as well, sadly not here at the moment, and we've got a new collecting show starting very soon, as well as Fantha Tracks, making tracks on Tuesdays at 7. So we've got loads of nonsense to listen to. If you've got literally nothing better to do with your life, welcome, join us.
Yeah. There's some sensible stuff too.
There's a bit of sensible stuff, but generally it's...
That's the opening credits.
Oh, well done, yes. Yes, very true, yeah. And generally it's utter nonsense. Before we wrap up, because I'm the podcast stage host and I don't want to be the one show that's late, I want to ask you guys here. I know Greg has had to shoot off to do... is he getting a Ewan?
He's gone to get Ewan's autograph, yes.
A Scotsman meeting a Scotsman.
Makes all the sense in the world.
Yeah.
We've seen a lot of stuff this weekend at Celebrate. I'll just start at the end of the line and work my way along. Of the things that we've seen. We won't spoil anything if people haven't seen it, because I know not everyone's seen it, but...
Obi-Wan's in it, sorry.
Obi-Wan is definitely in it.
And he lives.
Yeah. Of the things that we've seen, and there's been, like I say, reveals since we've been in this room that we haven't quite seen yet, or just general fun at Celebration. What have you seen so far, Matt, that you've enjoyed?
The best thing I've seen, probably Mike McMaster's probe droid.
Oh, yes.
So Mike's one of the droid builders. He's one of the heads of the droid builders in America and part of the team. He built the chopper for the Star Wars show. Good friend for years. And I've been following on Twitter, and he's been building this life-size probe droid. And I saw it the day before the show opened, and it was just static. And he's like, oh, yeah, I'm going to start driving it around. I'm like, it moves as well. I knew it would sort of hang there on its base and its legs would dangle and the head would spin and stuff and make some noises. Seeing that drive around the show and people's absolute awe. It's like when we were at Germany and we saw that guy in the Wampa suit and it blew us away.
Yeah.
You see some cool cosplays. The first time I saw a Grievous cosplay at a show and stuff, and people do the ones that are weird and wacky and way out there. Seeing that thing drive around and everyone just in utter awe, it's mind-blowing.
And it's relevant again because obviously we saw it in Book of Boba Fett.
Yeah. And in Rogue One.
And, of course, Rogue One, yeah.
But the noise he's got all, I don't know if he's got all the authentic sounds, but knowing Mike, he knows the right people, and most likely has. It's got a booming sound box on it. It's got all the right lights and everything, and it's taken him a few years. It's a big passion project for him, but that's probably one of the things that's blown me away. All the stuff trailers and stuff we've seen are great, and saw the Ahsoka trailer and the bits about, and that's all good stuff, but I knew that was coming.
Yeah.
But not knowing that he could move that around and how blooming big it was. You see a picture on Instagram, you're like, oh, that looks quite big. And they're like, oh, no, I built it 1-to-1. I've told him he's got to bring it out to visit Arthur next time we go.
Yeah.
He's like, I don't think it'll fit on the train. I was like, no, probably not. We'll just take our toy ones.
And Nay Paula.
Well, I've got three. I'll be very quick with them. I'll bullet point them.
Go for it.
All right. So for me, from a Star Wars point of view, the opening panel on day one, the Lucasfilm panel, absolutely amazing. Way back in Orlando, I queued up with a good friend of ours, Paul McHugh, and actually ended up in the secondary stage. So we'd queued up all night thinking we were going to see it in the flesh, and we didn't. So this time around it came good, and that was just amazing. From a personal level, as this crazy costume came together, I always walk around like this. When people pointed out that I had a striking resemblance to an admin clerk from the Book of Boba Fett, the dreams come true. The first person to actually come up to me when I was wearing this crazy outfit was the best friend of Galen Howard, who played the character.
That's mad.
He came up to me and said, "Excuse me, guy with the mullet." And I turn around, he goes, "I'm best friends with Galen Howard." I said, "Seriously?" And he said, "Yeah. Do you mind if I take your picture?" "Not at all." So I'm expecting a call from the guy that plays this saying, "Whoa, dude, what are you doing?" Trying to trade on my name.
Did you give him your email and number?
No, but I'm sure it will happen. And then we need to do a Zoom call.
Yes.
And I wonder what I'll be wearing.
I've got to say, the joy you must have felt when somebody says, "Hey, the guy with the mullet," and you know that you can turn around.
Well, I did, because in real life I certainly haven't got one, have I?
Big reveal.
Get a mullet out of that would be mighty fine.
There's been some reveals at Celebration, but that takes some beating, it really does.
And third and finally, hooking up again with some of our intercontinental friends that we haven't seen for a long time. Yeah. I'm thinking the likes of Dan Lowe, hi Dan, Big Kev, Mark, who we were just talking to on stage here. People that we haven't seen for such a long time, and it feels extra special because of what we've all been through the last 2.5 years. So for me, that's probably the top thing. Yeah. Seeing friends.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Carl, what about you?
Not known for the brevity of my answers.
Well, speaking of me, you've got 3.5 minutes.
But this is actually my first ever continental celebration.
Like a virgin.
Yes.
Missed music cue.
So just the whole experience really. It's been, obviously we've got quite a few of the team out here, so it's been a bit of a sort of boys on tour.
Yeah.
But yeah, it just the
We
whole.
haven't got Claire to keep us in.
No, we haven't got mum in charge to herd the cats. So
and we've missed Brian, and hope he gets well soon.
yeah, get well soon, Brian. And so the whole thing really, the whole package.
And Mark, what's your favourite things you've seen or done? Or
Oh wow! I mean, obviously, I've been hosting this stage, so that's took precedence. But
so
I did.
you've seen these 4 walls a lot.
I've seen a lot of these 4 walls and listened to a lot of
Which wall
really
is your
good
favourite?
podcasts. Which wall?
Yeah.
Probably that one, because I keep hiding stuff behind it, but you didn't hear that. You didn't hear that. No, I've had a great time. There's been some great shows. I've really enjoyed everything I've listened to. But I did manage to sneak out to the Attack of the Clones panel yesterday.
Yeah,
which was the first real panel I've got to, and that was fantastic. Jingle jangle. That was fantastic. I really enjoyed that. Last night, yes, we did Disneyland After Dark, which was huge fun, and buying loads of swag and stuff I don't need.
Which Falcon's best, East or West Coast?
That's a great question, because I've been very fortunate. I've seen both within the last 6 weeks. Where are we?
West.
Oh, I'm going to say West.
The left one on the picture.
But when we record this, if we ever do another podcast stage and we're in Orlando, I'm going to say East. No, it's been brilliant. And like I say, catching up with friends and seeing old faces and people that we've been speaking to for the last sort of 2.5 years.
On the internet.
Exactly.
Never met.
Yeah, and folks that we know, and it's been brilliant. I've loved it. And we're only halfway through. Well, no, we're 2/3 of the way through.
Yeah.
How many days is it? 4 days? We're 3/4 of the way through.
Yeah.
I'm not good at numbers.
Brilliant at letters.
I don't know about that.
This is from a man who claimed to have a 28-inch waist.
I'm so glad you said that. I don't think I'm going to top that, so I'm going to wrap this one up. Thank you, guys. I've really enjoyed this. This has been a blast. And thank you for being out there and giving us a listen. And try us out if you don't listen, but there you go. Enjoy. Thank you very much.
Coming up next on Fantha Tracks Radio, it's another episode of Making Tracks.